What's up, guys? So I had a question from a student saying, hey, what do you do for 529s? How do you personally do it? How do you handle it and stuff like that? And they gave me the option. I'm rolling over my kids 529. They're giving me an option. If you guys hear my daughter in the background, I know that's on my mic, so you might not be able to hear that. She's crying, so she might not get this 529. It might get shifted out of her name back into my name up here into Brennan Schlagbaum, not Logan Schlagbaum. Anyway, so as we're looking at this 529, it's very important to, I believe, select your own. But again, if you don't have the confidence, if you haven't educated through weeks 5 through 11 yet, and you're still kind of weary about selecting your own, you could always use what they kind of give you as a default option based on your age and risk. And 529s are much easier to do that with. Me personally, I always select my own investments. I would never personally just let another broker decide because I want to educate myself, put myself in the best possible position, pay the least amount of fees, and have a control over my allocations. So with this being said, you see my name because I opened these 529s in my name and then I shifted it to both my girls, so Logan and Ellie here. So this is Logan's. So the first thing you're going to do is you can see, you can change investment options over here. So when I had mine initially, by the way, it was in my name. I did transfer to another beneficiary, and that's how I transferred it. So this is a step-by-step of how I would have done that. Let's go to change investment options, and we see these two options right here. So as you guys always know, it's always important to, when you're making adjustments to your allocations, if you already have money sitting there, you need to figure out what that ideal allocation looks like. And you need to update your current investment mix that you have. So your existing funds right here, update that to the new investment mix. So exchange that right then and there. Whether this goes for any account, not just 529s. Secondly, is future contributions need to be updated as well. That's where this comes into play. So you got to do both, 1 and 2 step, 2 step right here. So this one is continue. I'll continue here in a second. But down here, you can see that my current mix is 82-18. My desired allocation is 80-20. So when I make a $250 contribution, 80% goes 250 times 0.8 goes, or $200, I should know that, goes into this total stock market, and then 20% goes into international. Please don't copy me. That would not make sense at all. This is Logan's personal 529. Her age is different. My risk for this investment account is different probably. Would not make sense to copy. So let's be very clear about that because I've seen some allocations. Also, please don't stress about the allocations like too much. It's important to know when you have the significant balances, but like build the contribution into it and just get money into the account. People are over optimizing these allocations to the point of like decision fatigue and analysis paralysis. Please don't let this hold you back. If it's 75-25, 80-20, not going to matter. So I have 80-20 desired allocation mix between the two. Now, if I hit continue, I have my options to either do a bunch of target date funds. So year of enrollment essentially is what these are. Same thing as a target date with a 401k when you're going to retire. These are when you're going to go to school. Is your kid going to go out to school in 18 years? This is probably the furthest one. So 2024 to this is 18 years and it backs down 1 year each single one. So you can all the way down to 2022. I'd go to school this year. You also have stocks, individual stock funds, and you have balanced funds right here. You have some bond funds, and you have a short-term investments. As you can see, there's not that many options. It's pretty simple. You'll probably notice most of these. S&P 500, aggressive growth, growth index, mid-cap, etc. The question is, do I let them select this on my own or on their own by telling them my risk profile, or do I select my own? I personally, like I said, like to go down here and I like to have a mix of stock, balance, of bond, and of short-term, all of the individual selection potentials. And I like to decide my percentages there. So I went in here initially and did, where's total stock market? 80% here, and I did 20% there, and I did continue next. You don't need to do that. You can do that. If you don't have confidence in what makes sense for your situation, you can always default to this option up here. So I'm going to click on this. And I'm also going to click on one of let's go 2022. So we have two options. And remember, these are always a little more expensive. They're not crazy. Vanguard's really good with target date funds of all the different brokers. Usually target date or enrollment date, type funds are really expensive. Vanguard's brought theirs down kind of a lot. So 14 basis points, it's within our threshold of 20 basis points. We're good there. You want to see the portfolio composition. So this total stock market is 57. This is 37. This mix of, these are equities, right? This would be 95% of the portfolio. And as you can see, this is 5% into bonds, total bonds, and then also international bonds. So you have a 95-5 split between equities and bonds in something that's 18 years away. So I even looked at this myself and said, okay, my girls are 18 years away. What should I, should I be full equities or whatnot? I decided to go full equities. That might be risky to some, that might be fine to some. It just depends. Vanguard would have said 95-5. I said 100-0. It's pretty dang similar, right? It's nothing crazy. Now, if you go up to 2022, the expense is the same, but as you notice, Up here, this is moderate allocation. If you go down to here, it says conservative allocation. Why? Because you're really close. It's this year. You probably don't want to lose a bunch of money if you are, really, really risky. But if you had a portfolio composition, this is going to look entirely different. You're in short-term reserves, 51%. That's essentially, let's put it cash, okay? You have bonds of 23, you have international bonds of 10, and then you have the stock market index and the international index of like 8 and 5. So let's call this 14%, and let's call the remainder 86% is essentially what we're looking at. So if we added this up, 51 plus 23 plus 10, let's call it about 86% or 84%, right? 51 plus 23 plus 10. So yeah, 84%. So we're an 84-16 split with half of our portfolio essentially not invested. Let's put it that way, right? It's in a short-term reserve fund. It's literally cash essentially, right? A lot of people feel really, I guess you could look down here as well if you want to see like the split instead of doing your own calculations like I did stupidly. But it really, like, this is how I would go ahead and if I'm looking at this, I'm not using these enrollment funds personally. They're a little more expensive. They're not too bad. Other places outside of Vanguard, they could be much more expensive, FY. So be very careful there. And then if you go down to these different various investment funds, let's just do like the S&P 500. If you pull this, it's probably 12 basis points, I'm assuming. 13 basis points for this one. So like 1 basis point cheaper. Again, they're very similar. Total stock market's 12 basis points, I know, because I actually invested in it. So you'll see that they're a little less. The investment minimum and all that kind of stuff as well. But that's how I select, guys. I think 529 should be super simple. Like they say, choose up to 5 options. You must allocate at least 5% to each option. You must use whole numbers, and the total must equal 100%. Do not overcomplicate this. If you have no idea and you're still trying to learn and figure this out, just go ahead and do a target date enrollment fund so that you're at least invested and it's not sitting in cash, and then that should be good. Let me know if you guys have questions on how I go about this. Weeks 5 through 11 give you specifically, guys, this detail as to how to select this. Everybody knows if you've gone through weeks 5 through 11, we will walk you through a set of quizzes, through a set of questions, multiple education, so that we get to the desired allocation mix, so that you're confidently able to come in here and say, I know what I want. How do I go find it? Then we just got to mix and match. Oh, I want a large cap S&P 500 or a large cap US fund. Okay, well, the S&P takes care of that. And I want 65%. Okay, 65%, right? And you should be good from there. So this is really good information for allocations in general, but specifically 529s. Let me know if you guys have any questions on this.